Anthropic just released Claude Opus 4.8, and let's see how it can work for authors. First up, premise. I'm on Opus 4.8. For the effort settings, you can choose high, extra, or max. We're going to go to max. Why not? I'm asking for an original high-concept premise that combines a horror story with a musical. Here's what Opus 4.8 came up with. All of these are good. Like a quiet literary novel or story might be The Lullaby. The Quiet probably gets the highest score on originality. The one that spoke to me most is The Earworm. It's my pick, and it wasn't actually Claude Opus's first pick. It did a hybrid that I liked, but I didn't like it as much. But this one just blows, I think, everything away. It lends itself to creating scenes, plotting, and that's what we're going to go with. So next thing we're going to do is see if this thing can write an outline, which I'm sure it can, but how good is the outline going to be? And how much better is it than Opus 4.7, for example, or any of the latest models? I asked for a detailed story outline, and I got back way more than I expected. It's called The Hum. That's the title that Claude came up with. There's the pitch, we have the theme, mythology, and the rules. So it's a whole story Bible plus outline. Here's a tension staircase, everything from level 1 to 6. Here's the beat sheet that I actually specifically asked for, detailed enough that a writer would be able to just pick this up and write it. The scene bank, this is really cool. I wanted every scene connected to the theme and the premise, and that seems to have happened here. Very cool. Wow, there's a lot of chapters. It's definitely novel length. Sometimes these AI models don't give you a novel length manuscript. This is definitely novel length. Okay, we have a total of 3 parts, 46 chapters. Everything is detailed. Here's some motifs, some comps and differentiation, the breakout case. I'm very impressed with this. This is definitely A++. I think this is even better than Opus 4.7 on this metric. But the real question is, can this thing write? Let's find out. And now we get to it. I'm asking Opus 4.7 to write 5 scenes. An opening scene, a pure horror scene, an emotional scene, an unexpectedly funny scene, and one scene that I want it to choose itself that will powerfully show its storytelling chops. Whoa, the 5 scenes are back, and I am genuinely impressed. Claude has been my favorite AI for storytelling for a while now, but this moves the needle even more. The first scene is the opening scene, and I'm not going to read all these to you, but I'll scroll all the way through here, so if you want to freeze the screen and read all, you certainly can. But I just want to point out a few things. The opening scene, it starts out using the voice and the music as a kind of salvation before it becomes the apocalypse. I think the sentences are so good. I would definitely read this novel. I think one of the things that I liked the best was this last sentence of the first scene. She would think about that later, how easily her own breath had taken it up, how it had felt less like remembering a song than like being remembered by one. Scene 2 is the first death scene that teaches the rules of the story. And again, I'm impressed. It creates this dread, this horror in the reader that I think is powerful. Here's one of my favorite parts of scene 2. The eyes were tracing the tune. The one from Edwin's room. The one that had been going around the unit all week in the break room, in the showers. The one Wren had been pressing flat at the back of her own throat for 4 days now, like a hand over a mouth. I think that's a great line. Then we have the funny scene. That's hard to be funny in any type of writing, but in horror, maybe it's more important. And honestly, it already made me chuckle a little bit. So in this scene, it's called The Quietest Room in America. The main characters in the story reach a community center, and there's this sign on the double doors that says, "No talking. We mean it. The last guy who talked is why we have the other sign." Yeah, I think that's pretty funny. Now, here's the 5th scene, the wild card, the one that I haven't read yet, and that Opus came up with itself to show its own storytelling prowess. It's called The Gift, Chapter 17. This is close POV on Soren Falk. He's an antagonist in the book, so making readers understand the bad guy is a way to make a really compelling piece of fiction. Opus is saying, I chose this scene because making a reader feel the pull of surrender is the hardest thing the book has to do, and the whole horror depends on it. I really appreciate how much Opus understands real storytelling, because you can just ask an AI to write a story and they'll write something that is usually pretty decent these days. But I find that Opus understands the deeper parts of storytelling. Even by just reading this kind of writing, you can actually learn to become a better writer yourself. Here's the first line of this scene. There had been one night 15 years ago in a club in Athens, Georgia, that Soren Falk had spent the rest of his life trying to get back to. It's a great opening line because it makes me very curious. And I think it puts a curiosity gap in the reader's mind that they want to read the rest of this scene. We have a real chunk of writing on the screen. And the question I get more than any other is, what do I do with it next? Because AI-generated prose has a fingerprint. Even the good stuff. Sentences are too even, transitions are too clean. It reads like AI even when the story underneath is solid. Today's sponsor is a tool you can use to fix exactly that. It's called Phrasely. Phrasely rephrases AI writing so it sounds like a human wrote it. You paste in your draft, you hit rephrase, it gives you back the same content with varied sentence structure, different word choices, and the natural unevenness that makes prose feel like a person wrote it instead of an AI model. I tested it. I wrote a short story with it, start to finish. And the result, honestly, surprised me. It was really good, and that's not even what this tool is supposed to be for. And then you can take any piece of writing and you can rephrase it. And that works really well too, better than anything else that I've actually tried on the market. Behind the scenes, Phrasely even pulls real citations from the web. You can do the whole workflow in one place. Draft, rephrase, polish, without copying and pasting between tabs. That's something small and simple, but honestly, it helps in a real workflow. There's even a free version. There's also a paid tier with unlimited rephrasing if you write a lot. Link is in the description. I asked Claude Opus 4.8 to build something cool for authors, and it came up with this based on an idea I gave it, the premise DNA. You paste in your premise here, and this tool is going to automatically score it on about 20 to 30 different metrics, bestseller elements and patterns, and then give you feedback. Now, this was built inside of Claude AI, so it just uses Claude API, my subscription, so no API key needed for this one. Eventually, I might create this as a standalone product that I put on my Ko-Fi store, but it's not available yet, but there's a lot of other tools on there. Go grab those. They're really cool. Check those out. Here's how this works. If you want to test this, you can just hit Contagious Song and it'll paste it in there for you. And then you run the diagnostic. It goes over 20 markers across hook, character, structure, theme, and freshness. It's giving a live read, nothing stored. Down here, it's working. It explains how it works. Look, reading, checking the spine, testing the hook on a stranger, holding it up against the cannon, looking for the beating heart. This is actually really cool that you can build right inside of your own dashboard. Look at this. Okay, 81 out of 100 bestseller DNA. Now, is that true? I don't know. It's rating its own story, so it might be biased. A genuinely infectious high concept with a devastating emotional core. Very cool. Your premise sharpened. Greatest strength, highest leverage fix, the 5 systems, 20 markers. Look at this. This is actually really cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to do my best to get this on Ko-Fi as soon as possible, but don't go look for it yet because it's not on there, but it'll probably be on there in the next week or two. This is really cool. You can copy the report, diagnose another. Awesome. I'm really impressed with Opus 4.8. I think it is now the best model for storytelling and for authors, for your planning, your writing, your revision, your promoting and prompting and book launch, production. There's so much cool stuff that you can do with AI to help you just become a better writer yourself. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, a subscribe. Let me know what you think of Claude Opus 4.8 in the comments. I'm really impressed.